Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Moocast. Today I'm joined by Shuruko.
Hello.
And Anikka.
Hello.
And today's episode is going to be about Attack on Titans. Recently, the creator of Attack on Titans made an announcement saying that the manga is actually 98 to 99% done. Meaning the next chapter, or maybe the next two chapters, are very likely going to be the conclusion of this whole series, as well as the final season of Attack on Titans will be released in early December. So Shuruko, Anikka, and I are both avid Attack on Titans fans, so they graciously agreed to come onto the Moocast so we can talk about all our favorite parts. Now, for all of you listeners, we're not going to talk about any spoilers for the final season, because both Richard and I are manga readers, but anything pretty much up until the end of season 3 is fair game, because let's be honest, if the final season's coming out in a couple of weeks, you should be caught up already. So we're going to be talking about everything that happens from season 1 to season 3 in the anime. So for those of you who don't know what Attack on Titans is, it's an anime slash manga, or a story, that's set in a time many hundreds of years ago, where humans were trapped inside walls, basically. When you first start watching the anime, it's a bit of a mystery, like why are they stuck behind these walls? And then as you go forward, you find out that the walls are there to protect them from huge man-eating titans that only eat for pleasure. The whole series is kind of centered around the mystery of said titans and the mystery of the walls that the humans are hidden behind. So let's talk about our first impressions of the anime. What were your most and least favorite parts, and what made you want to keep watching or reading? We'll start with Shuruko.
Yeah, so one big first impression was the first thought that a lot of watcher goes into, which is like, oh, is it just like a monster versus humanity kind of thing? Mm-hmm. Like humanity making this move to survive in this post-apocalyptic world setting?
Well, I mean...
No, dystopia. Sure. This dystopia.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, that's a better choice of word.
Yeah.
So, as let's mention, it's like how... It goes basing around like where these titans come from, what's the reason for people in the wall, how this is all started. So it was a very interesting take, and I think the first season of the anime casts this giant mystery into the air. I guess. Yeah. I think the biggest impression of the anime definitely did change when Eren got eaten in the very first season. I think that was a big turning point for a lot of people.
Right.
Who were like watching it for the first time, or even reading it for the first time. They're like,
yeah.
Well, we thought he was the main character, and then, I think, and poof, later on when you realize, oh wait, hold on, he turned to a titan, and that brings even more mystery into the actual like genre, and they put a lot more emphasis like what the hell's going on. If he turned to a titan, does that mean there's more? And then I think at that point, a lot of people. You can see, like, in the fan base in general, there's some people doing theory crafting, what may be the case.
Oh, yeah.
And, there was so much theory crafting into that. What if, let's say, people outside the wall are, like, I don't know, they're experimenting, like, this is a giant cage, or what if people...
It was a farm.
Yeah, exactly. What if it was a farm?
That was my theory, yeah.
Right? Yeah, I think that was your theory, but we talked about this for the first time. So, it was such a very interesting moment, and this is what I kind of really liked about this anime in general, is how much they give you like driplets of information as we go through the series, and it just kind of stir people like, oh, I knew this is going to happen, or they're like, oh, well, shit, I didn't think this was going to happen, so, new theory, new plan, maybe like prediction, right? And even up to this point, or we're like season 3 now. I don't remember having season 2.
I think season 2 was a slower one. I think they centered more around the political aspect of trying to leave the walls, I think.
Yeah, that's my least favorite part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think once we got to season 3, they started revealing more and more about the world, and then that kind of got things so much more interesting, and you realize the plot setting, everything else that. If you were to look back on the first episode, you'd be thinking very differently. Like, you cannot, knowing all this now, you cannot really like see it in the same way as you were to watch it from the very first episode.
Oh, for sure. That's one thing that the story does really, really well. It's the plot twist. It keeps you thinking. Like, right from the beginning, it's just as you said, there's already like this huge mystery. Like, where did these walls come from? Who built it? How did it happen? How did they even get enough time and resources to build these walls in time before getting eaten by titans, right? And how did they even manage to survive these titans that don't need to sleep or eat or to survive or even reproduce? And it's just this huge mystery. Who are they? Where do they come from? And they waste no time in like the first episode just trying to get you. Like, they'll hook their claws into you, and then you're gonna keep watching just because of the gruesome first death of Aaron's mother. Like, not only are you invested in the mystery, you're also invested in the character and how he's gonna seek revenge against these man-eating titans.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that'll be it for me.
All right. Anikka, what were your first impressions of the anime, and what made you want to keep reading or watching? Oh, no, you were watching. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, I didn't read the manga, so I goes with the animation. Hopefully, it is quite, I would say, it is quite the same thing as the manga. I hope that they didn't remove or change much things, if you can confirm with me. But I would say regarding the anime, what did attract me at first? I would say for sure, as any anime, the aesthetic, the visual part. So I wasn't drawn, to be honest, to how I would say Eren face is, especially his big eyes, very innocent, or Armin as well. I find him quite ugly.
Oh, no, for sure. But I think his big round eyes do a lot to express his emotions, which is mostly of terror and anger.
I think it meant more his innocence. When you look at Berthold, if you look at Mikasa or Levi, their eyes are they have that regard of someone who've seen a lot in life, right? And they're the eldest, and they've seen a lot, for sure. So for sure, I understand the choice of the eyes of Eren and Armin, but nonetheless, I would say most of the character I wasn't drawn to how they look like. I think there's plenty of anime that has more appealing drawings, but what I did appreciate is the details that was put into the scenery and architecture. I really like the design of their clothing.
Right.
And I think the one that intrigues all of us was mostly the weapons, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those giant metal box that seems to be super heavy and doesn't make sense, but they're able to fly literally with some air jetpack.
Obviously, it wasn't easy.
No, but yeah. So I think at first, someone who doesn't know the story, that was the most intriguing part. And eventually, more and more, if you watch the first couple of episodes, I think what kept me watching was, for sure, there's a political aspect. We know it because right from the beginning, we know there's some organization involved. We know there's some ranking involved.
Oh, yes.
So you're expecting to have a kind of like a thriller, actually.
Right.
And that mystery, again, mystery surrounding everything. You don't know that world. You don't know how they end up like that. You're wondering why is those weird-looking creature who eats people, etc., etc. So I guess this was the point that made me continue and watch, because I really want to understand what kind of world was that, and we get to develop and understand at the same progression, right, as a character. So that is quite interesting and gets you attached to them for sure. But yeah, to see the story unravel eventually up into season 3, now with the last couple of episodes of season 3, you get to be, oh my god, it's bigger than we thought. And I really like those type of story. Whenever you thought that there's a specific plot, but that was just a subplot of a subplot or of a bigger plot.
I love how the creator masterfully just ties everything together at the end.
Yes.
So that it's actually, that's one of the themes. I guess we'll talk about it soon enough. But
definitely, and the author was good enough, to ties everything and provide us, as Shuruko said, bits of information, but at the right moment and at the right pace.
Yeah.
So we can, linger to it and just crave for it at the same time.
We
So,
craved, and it was also something we hated because every episode ended in a cliffhanger.
Yes, you get to answer some question, but you get more question.
I
And it was
love that.
always-
Oh man.
It's
And
not like it's not
Yeah.
like other stories that just go on and on. One Piece.
Definitely. So it goes on in a way, but the general points are still there. We're still focused on those points, and the author doesn't forget those. Because sometimes what happened with TV shows, especially if they're very long.
Yes.
And long, they kind of abandon some plot, maybe to accommodate viewers. They try to change the story a bit and eventually change direction. Whenever with this, I believe they already have the scenario right, planned all from the beginning.
Yeah.
So story-wise, it's super strong, and therefore that's why I am still hooked on it, and I cannot wait to see what's gonna happen for sure.
Oh yeah. You're both gonna be in for a huge surprise.
Yes.
Oh.
And
What?
yeah, of the three of us, I think I've actually caught up with the manga, and it is insane. Like you have no idea what's gonna happen. It's
Oh, I caught up.
Oh, you caught up?
I
oh,
finally caught up.
dang. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
my.
So we can talk
But,
about it after, but
Just to kind of add on to that, like in terms of the storyline, yeah, for sure. I think what really makes it really successful, like even anime or any kind of storyline adaptation, is that they're very faithful to their cause. Like when you,
yes.
So exactly when you started reading, like you had those questions. You go like, oh,
Yeah.
what created these titans? And by the end of the goal, I think they wanted to achieve a solution for these massacre.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think that with the story being so faithful and toward that end goal, the end goal that everyone want to see is that the world achieve like this kind of harmony where like, oh, we don't have to worry about like these time, we don't have to worry about being invaded by these many monsters.
Yeah.
Like that's the end goal of this series that I think a lot of people will want to see. And then this is why the story progression kind of is so important. Unlike, sorry for people who kind of hate like for Bleach here, for example.
oh god. What?
Yeah, I like to use Bleach as an example because I did enjoy it in the beginning. Because in the beginning it was
Yes.
like, oh, we need
That's
to
so
save.
true.
When we need to save Rukia, that was the goal.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, we
that's
true.
saved Rukia, but what was the goal after that?
They changed it.
They changed it, right? And then
Yeah.
that's how people like if you keep changing those goals, people kind of people not I know people are faithful to it, but like for someone like me, I just can't. I don't know where the story is heading toward anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? So I think having a clear-cut story, like this is what you want, this is what you will get. Even like Fullmetal Alchemist, that's one of my biggest like top 10 anime, top favorite anime in general. It was such a clear goal
Yeah.
for all the main characters to achieve. This is what they want. Yes, there's a lot of hiccup in the road because in the very end, I think all the readers, all the people watching the anime, they got that satisfaction, like, oh, they finally achieved
Exactly.
what they're looking for. By the
Yeah.
way, I'm gonna add on to your point about the One Piece thing. I am still a fan of One Piece. There is
Oh,
a
no.
goal. There's
Yeah.
still a goal
Yes.
to it. We just have to wait for it to end first, okay?
Yeah. No. I'm a fan of One Piece too. It's just that after a while, I can only take so many cliffhangers because there's so many subplots that you need to keep track of.
I know. Yeah,
What?
just
Like, what is that? It's like 1,000 chapters now. Like, I'm
my
sorry,
God.
but I'd rather wait.
We'll
Oh,
wait.
and not even that. I'm sure any avid manga or anime fan would have one or two anime or manga that's like that. For example, anyone who reads Berserk. But I think there is a reasonable excuse. The author's dying, so let's hope he finishes before he passes. Like I'm not cursing him or anything, but I hope it's done before then.
Yeah, but if I may go on that point as well, that's why I don't tend to follow the most newest, story, manga, animation that comes out right away. I just rather wait and see what's the progression, and I definitely enjoy a bit more anime or manga that are a bit short because, as you said, for your mind, especially, you just want to enjoy something. You don't want to
Oh
feeling negative after the experience, right? For short stuff like that, I rather go with it because it's long enough to keep you entertained for a while, but there's a wrap up eventually, and you get with answers in the end. So I feel like it's more satisfying, right? I may miss really nice stuff. I believe One Piece especially looks very fun.
Yeah.
I might miss, especially I played a game, to be honest, so I know
Oh.
a bit about the characters.
Yeah.
But and I really like them. They're very, very cute and cool and everything. And I know I might miss part of the adventure with them, which is a loss. But honestly, it's just dragging and dragging, and I cannot bear.
You
I
know
cannot bear.
what's good about One Piece is that you can enjoy it in bursts, which is I guess what they're trying to say. Every time they have a new goal to go to a new island, it's its own arc, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, thinking more about Conan the detective. I don't know if you guys.
I actually didn't watch, but
I went 900 chapter before I gave up.
Okay, so in my childhood, I spent, I don't know, countless of hours reading most of the manga, but then I realized it was not the end on the, I don't know, the 40th manga. I was like, okay. So, and until today, the story wasn't resolved. We don't know what's happening to him, and we don't know much about what happened as well.
Right.
So, even the animation, I guess animation goes with the manga. So they are like the 20th, I don't know, season. It's ridiculous. It's more than a TV show actually at this point.
That's more than Inuyasha, isn't it?
I think it's
It's
one of
way,
the
way more than Inuyasha already. Like it's been ongoing before Inuyasha. I think
exactly.
Yeah, for like even Conan right now, I'm just at this point. I just kind of gave up on it. I just I'm gonna wait for it to finish, and then I'm gonna wait for someone to compile all the all the main story plot into one thing. I'll just watch that.
Oh, exactly.
Good luck with that.
And that was sad because what was I drawn to Conan was actually that plot and the detective, of course, part of it as well. But it's okay for him to have side, adventure. But eventually, I'm like, you're gonna lose your audience, right?
I think that's also like Naruto. It had a huge problem with like filler episodes.
Yes. I don't know, it's debatable. I would say a lot of people end up, I guess, liking more side character than Naruto himself, to be honest.
That's true.
Yeah, his goals don't evolve much throughout the series, whereas the others, they're just enough, and they're unique enough that you want to follow each character.
Exactly, and we had no choice to look at what's happening and discover stuff with Naruto, because audience and him, we're evolving at the same rates in terms of knowledge, right? What happened with the plot again. But it's debatable because, to be honest, I really don't like him as a character. But I really like the universe and everyone else in it.
Sorry.
So I was going to just say, let's tie this back into Attack on Titans.
Okay.
So to tie it back into Attack on Titans, I feel like we can all agree that what's good about the anime is that it hooks us with enough cliffhangers, but also gives us enough answers to make us feel a bit more fulfilled and satisfied. You brought up the other side characters in Naruto. You also kind of want to know how Armin and Mikasa develops throughout the series as well, right? Because surely...
And definitely, it's the same parallel, to be honest, Attack on Titan or Naruto. I really don't like Eren I don't like him, his personality. I just don't care about him much. I do only like him whenever he's more, serious and he's very involved and he transforms into a Titan and he gets to be useful. Sorry for that. So the
one time he's useful, then you're like, hey, he's okay in my books.
I just, especially for that type of universe, people are suffering so much. We have no time to drag and jokes around, right?
Ooh, that's
harsh. I'm not against love and laughter. I'm really for that because it heals the character. But I just want to know what's gonna happen to the main general population. They get to be killed all the time, and they get to be victim. They're the victim, and all of this, they're always the victim because they get to suffer. They get to lose their house and everything, right? So that's why, exactly. That's why I really like most of everybody, the story itself, blah blah. Everyone except Eren. So usually, I would say logically, you'll be drawn to a universe or animation or anime or a story, whatever, based on the main character because you relate to that character or you like that character, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it was more everything else, which again, hats to the creator because they were able to reach out to me when I didn't like Eren, and I could have said, "Oh no, I cannot stand that guy," and I can just walk away, right?
Right.
So I guess for that reason, the author was very good
The voice actor, I feel like, should get a lot of some credit too. Like every time Eren screams or end up having like a monologue or something, you can see you can hear the emotion he puts into that, and it really makes you involved in his development, right? And what he's feeling.
Yes.
Because in this first season, he is still a kid. And then he eventually grows older. And as you'll see in the manga, or even in season 4, he will start becoming a bit more independent. Reliable.
I can wait. I cannot wait. For
he sees his own goal. He makes a plan and he just goes for it. And it's actually like it makes you feel good because you're like growing up with him and you're seeing how he progresses. And it's actually the way he turns out is going to be very interesting. Just watch.
Oh, definitely. I really like that mature Eren, but before then I cannot stand him. Sorry.
I totally get it. That's I think they did that on purpose. They wanted him to be an angsty teen. I mean, he saw his mom die in front of him. He didn't have the power to do it. The one adult they thought they can rely on turns out just ran away and saved him and Mikasa instead. There's a lot of survivor guilt in that, you know?
Definitely.
And not to mention his dad, who just randomly disappears before the start of the anime. Like, come on, right?
Definitely. But I would say for maybe that type of character, I definitely like Armin.
Oh, really?
Because Armin, I feel like he had kind of like the same thoughts or feelings. You know,
sure.
They're both, you know, very young, and they're both. I think at the beginning, even then, Eren was already ready to fight when Armin was super scared. And, you know, dreading about the whole situation, and somehow the progression for Armin was a bit more faster than Eren.
Really? I disagree. I think Armin's development was a lot slower. It's just that he had developments in bursts. Like it would always be in like a time of like a tough situation where he suddenly shines and it shows his smarts, and he slowly gains his confidence. Whereas Eren just kind of he's like. He's a loose cannon. He just kind of goes and goes and
okay. Maybe in my defense, maybe because it was more noticeable with Armin. The contrast so there. So that's why
I think it's because of the ratio of his screen time versus what he actually does on the screen, right? Whereas we see Eren on the screen most of the time, but he's usually just working out or something. Yeah. But then Armin, every time he's on the screen, he's either having an emotional scene or he does something crazy that affects the plot, right?
True. So yeah, that's why I felt like Armin was a bit more faster, but maybe you're right. I mean, technically, chronologically, I think it was at the same time, as you said. It's just that on screen, he felt like he was more Armin.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think a good way to put it, because this is what I've also been noticing a lot, just even reading up to watching the 2 season 3, is that if you think of it this way, Eren and Armin are actually complete opposites, and
for sure,
they grow in opposite direction. What I mean by that is like Eren, from how we met him from his first season to the season 3, it started out as an ignorant teen who doesn't know better. He has a one-track mind. He wants to kill Titan. But as we progress through the season, his maturity grows into becoming someone who is extremely impulsive to somebody who you can see him now. He become more
careful.
He become more careful. He become more thoughtful.
Yes.
Armin is the opposite. Armin, he was very, very careful in the beginning. He was afraid to take action. But as you see him going to, especially a point where, where's the point? Not a spoiler. Where Armin were fighting Bertolt, you can see him putting all into action at this point, right?
Yeah.
He put so much sacrifice. So
he's willing to take risks.
Yeah. So from season 1 to season 3, Eren and Armin, they kind of flip side. Yeah. If you think about it this way, Armin was so scared. So he wasn't so scared, but he was very mature. Armin started off very, very mature. He has a very logical thinking. Yes,
but he was also timid.
He was timid, but that's by personality, right? But in terms of his action, he put a lot of thought into his action. He is afraid to make choices, but that comes with experience. Eren action does the opposite. He does a lot less action as he progresses because he starts thinking a lot. The more that he knows about what's going on, Eren starts to do a little bit less. It's not because he's afraid, or because now he has a lot more in his mind that he never had to think about before.
Yes.
Right. I think on the second last episode, I watched this one. they went across a Titan that was crawling.
Yeah.
If you
Oh
remember that.
yeah. Oh my
Yes.
god.
Like Aaron before would have just
Sliced it.
like, yes, he went crazy on it, but he just left it behind, and I think that was a very important part where you kind of see where Aaron started developing as this other character is not the same person that we met as a kid, an ignorant kid who just go, I'm gonna kill all the Titan now. Yeah. Until somebody who started looking things at the bigger picture.
I think a bit of that is also because he's seen enough death that he's starting to become either desensitized or even starting to pity these creatures because they kind of have an idea of who they are, right? So all that rage is gone. All the Titans are acting on impulse, right? I completely agree with everything that you guys said. On top of everything that no one's mentioned yet, let's just talk about how amazing the scores were, the music in the whole anime. Like it did such an amazing job getting you involved in the in the story. For example, I still can't get every time. There's this one, I forgot what the name of the actual piece is, but every time they're about to set out and do something, or like they're determined they're gonna carry out the plan, and you start hearing the drums like dun 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 dun, and I'm like, I'm in there. This story does so much to try to get you involved and actually makes you think what would you do in that situation as well, just by nature of how everything is and how in tune you are with the emotions of the character. And it got so it affects you so much that when someone, I forgot what the creator was, but they created a game using the Unity engine, right? It was the big game back then, and it was not only was it free, it was actually very accurate to how you would actually fight inside the actual anime. So me, Richard, and another friend.
Second one.
Oh, did they? Back in undergrad, me, Richard, and a friend, we would actually go to the library and have like a session where we would go and kill Titans and like train our skills. Yes. And we were actually pretty good. I'll throw up some screenshots now about my with our high scores.
You mean your high scores?
Oh, yeah, I only have my high scores. But it was so satisfying because they actually accurately programmed, the female Titan, Annie. They programmed Bertholt, the Colossal Titan. I don't think they put Colossal.
We should actually try it again. We should actually stream us about watching the playing.
Oh, yeah.
Materials.
Yeah, that's right. I'll just be more careful on what I install. Anyway, but I was very proud. Like, you would figure out ways to how to effectively take down a Titan, and then until the point where you can actually like one-shot Annie or even Bertholt, right? And there was a lot of it teaches you how to like take advantage of like momentum, angular momentum, and everything like that. And there's an excitement to trying to save. I think it was Shiganshina. Was that the first one? No, it was Trost. I think it was Trost, where we were in the walled city, right? And then that was so much fun. And like, I don't know about you, but I had the whole soundtrack playing in the background as we were playing, and it was super exciting. And then you could see like the feed on the side, how many Titans you killed at like what rate and whatever. And we would have to hunt down every Titan and take over a command post. And not only that, it was very realistic because the more you flew, obviously the more fuel you use up, which actually brings me back to Anika's point before, the 3D maneuver gear. Now, for those of you who are new, the weapons that she was talking about before, the 3D maneuver gear, or they keep changing the name. It's omnidimensional maneuver gear. The idea is the same.
Basically, I think 3D is the translated one, but it's Omni.
Omni makes more sense.
It means the same thing though.
Yeah, it does. So what it is, they're like these, I'm sure you've seen it like on the fan art. I'll put some up right now as well. But basically, there's like these two tanks that they have straps to their waist, and they're wearing like these harnesses, and these tanks double up. Actually, the big tanks aren't even for the fuel. They just carry, I think, 6 blades in total on each side. I think so. I think it's 6, yeah. Because what they also make sure you know is that the Titan skin is actually very hard. And not only that, whatever damage you do to them will regenerate within a matter of seconds, right? They also go through a lot of research saying how the Titans are actually a lot lighter than they look, even though they smash down like a truck. But their one weakness is the nape of their neck. I think it's like 1 meter across and like, 2 inches width or something. Those dimensions always mess me up because they would switch width and length, and I never really understood. But basically the nape of the neck, which I actually found out recently makes a bit of sense, other than what they revealed in the anime, that the Titan shifters, which are Eldians, when they transform, their actual body is in the nape of the neck. And it actually kind of makes sense because snipers, like professional snipers in the military, they're trained not to shoot for the skull, but to actually aim a little bit where the mouth is so that they can get the brainstem. The reason is that if you shoot the brainstem and someone is holding someone hostage, then they wouldn't have the reflex to pull the trigger and it will just cut off the signal there. So it kind of makes sense. It's like the control center of not only like, you know, your living functions, which the Titans don't actually have, but for any reflexes that they might still be intact. Yeah, and then why did I look that up? I forgot now. Oh, well, I was looking up zombies. How to kill zombies? Because there's this YouTuber that does like science and stuff, right? And he was talking about the best way to kill a zombie. And then because I noticed in like The Walking Dead, let's say, they always take a knife and shank it right in like the forehead, and I'm like, that's bone. How are they getting it through there? Sorry, you wanted to say something about the weapon?
So I would say, I agree with you. I guess another reason is the details, right? The thought that they put onto every single stuff like that, you know, scientifically proven, this is how it is. I think that's what makes it a bit realistic, and that's how it makes me, you know, keep going on. Because through the battle, which seems to be very unnatural, flying around and everything, try to reach big heights. So I would say it felt
terrifying.
Definitely. But the fact that they put so much details into explanation and everything, and anime-wise onto as a soundtrack and visual details, it makes me like, okay, I'm okay with that reality, and it could have been a reality itself, right? And I agree with it. It was, for me, it was realistic enough to go on. Whether another anime, I would have been, you know, all along would have been like, what are they doing? It's kind of weird. Okay, so there seems to be plot hole all over, you know, especially how they move or whatever. And that's what you see usually in big movies, Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
So, I would say I agree with you. All the details are really, 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 it makes the whole thing enjoyable. Yeah.
You know what? They don't even try to like idealize it or anything, like saying that it's like the perfect way to move. They show the dangers of it when you don't know what you're doing.
But yeah, they kind of show, you know, as in real life, consequences and action.
Like Whiplash.
Right? Yeah. And they kind of show I would say the point of view of one character, but as well the other characters at the same time. For that, it makes a multi-dimensional, I would say, universe. And it makes it more complete and full. So that's why I'm very satisfied, and I haven't noticed any kind of plot holes, if I can put it that way.
If you guys know, there is a side story for the Attack on Titan that kind of dives a little bit more into the past of the wall and how they start developing the 3D maneuver gear.
It's called Before the Fall, for those of you who are listening and don't know. The manga is called Before the Fall. Is it Before the Fall?
Yeah, Before the Fall.
Yeah, I stopped at one point because it was getting a bit slow, but they do go in depth in how they conducted experiments and started discovering like the weaknesses of the Titans and everything. What's nice is that you don't move around just perpetually. It does require fuel. And I think like for the maneuver gear, which is I think very realistic too. I think what Anikka was trying to say before, it was that there was nothing to make the immersion, to break the immersion. Like you were in there, you know that there's a limit in resources. Although we also find out that Paradise Island, which is where they are, actually Paradise, whatever, it has a lot of fuel. And they're actually sitting on top of like a huge fuel source. So that's why they were okay for so long. What I thought was super interesting and I was like super engrossed with was the sword itself. On the hilt, you get two triggers. One to boost, to like use that fuel to make you go faster. Another one to shoot harpoons from your waist. And then I always found those harpoons interesting because grappling hooks, because they would hit like the houses. They would damage the houses for like a little bit. And that's how they would swing like Spider-Man. But the thing is that what always interested me was how do they retract it, you know? Like it looked like it pierced the wall. How do they get it back out? It looks like it's stuck, right? Of course it needs to be sharp enough to pierce Titan's skin. But the fact that it was piercing the house and as an anchor for them to swing from and still dislodge, that always kind of interested me too. So for me personally, I was interested in how they got the whole gear to work. And it's nice how they even have like an economical like hierarchy in the society as well. They went to so much detail. So like the people in Walsina, the middle one, very center, were obviously the most protected, and they were the richest people. noblemen, aristocrats. Then there would be Wall Rose, who are, I guess, upper middle class, and then like the lower class in Wall Maria. And then on top of the walls, when you start to go in depth of how it was formed, you start to notice that they actually put so much thought into it that it's scary, because not only are there just one solid wall, there are other settlements in little bubbles in tiny walls around those walls that I think it's 4 in particular at each gate. And it's not by aesthetic choice that they're there. Those are settlements to delay Titans. So if there were a Titan attack, they would go in through that first wall and invade that particular settlement, and they would just isolate them there or buy time for people to go inside. And I thought that was that was kind of like society, you know, how ghettos are usually forced in places maybe like outside of the inner city or maybe on the outskirts, where the other people inside may not be in have potential exposure to them. And they just, yeah, and I really appreciated the detail. Anikka talked about the military and how it was divided. You have the military police that works closely to the king. They're the safest people. They stay within Walsina. All they do is walk around and flaunt their power, right? But you can't just be military police if you want to. You have to have the good grades. You have to be in the top 10 of your class. And then there's the, wall garrison, where all they do is just patrol the walls and aim the cannons at the Titans. And then you have the survey corps, which is where our brave young heroes end up joining, because they want to kill Titans, and that's the only way to kill Titans. So these guys were deemed as the suicidal people of society. They want to go out and, blaze a trail for society to potentially expand their settlements and, kill off Titans, gather resources, and create maps, charts of the surrounding area.
Actually, aren't these scouts supposed to be able to find out more about Titan? They're meant to actually research, like, what caused the Titan.
Yeah.
Right. I think their official reason was to chart paths for trade and everything. That was their official reason with the government. I think there was a side reason that they can investigate the Titans.
It was actually in the very first episode in the manga. It's more like their goal is to actually go outside of the wall to find information on weaknesses for Titans and find a way for like humanity survival. I think each time they come back, they're like, "Oh, we didn't find out anything,"
and more people died.
More people died without any information. I think that was the main. They're the researcher.
I think you're right, but also before the fall, the Survey Corps, they were already formed then, and they ended up helping what's his name, Angel, to go and research the Titans. Then I still think that. Maybe it's not their main objective, but I think one of their official objectives is also to chart the island. Because that's also what Irwin was doing with Henji. They had a map of what they were exploring. Yeah. Okay.
That's our research, yeah.
Speaking of which, now that we're talking about that, if you were inside this Attack on Titans universe yourself, and you had the choice between the 3 military corps or just being a civilian, what would you do? Be in 2 parts. So the first part is that if you don't already have the knowledge of what we know now of Titan shifters and everything, what would your choice change after finding out who the Titans are?
I like what the anime depicted where, oh wow, the Survey Corps is pretty cool looking. I think realistically, everyone will love to join the military police where it's safe. Not gonna lie, it sounds boring because, we're not in anime setting, but if this is a real life situation where if we had to make that choice, I think realistically, people will want to be in a safer location.
For sure.
Like the military police. And also, I think being in the military police, you automatically are part of the higher society. Right. So there's a lot more benefit toward it. Especially, I will say very, very few people will actually be brave enough to be venturing into very dangerous territory. It's basically joining the army. You are joining the army, really speaking. But it's like it's like volunteering to actually go into war and knowing that your chance of survival is very slim.
Right.
So I think, realistically, I will probably join that one. Even like at the garrison, are like the people who are like kind of in between. They're like, yeah, we want some action, but we don't want too much action.
Like, I don't know why there's so much hate towards the garrison. I mean, like, they have the good balance of danger and safety. Actually, but the way they portray it is just that they have nothing to do and they just get drunk all the time. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. What do you think the military police are doing?
The military police is only the top 10. right?
Right.
So it's very limited. So for the people, I'm assuming the people who don't want to take the risk of actually going out there, and the people who couldn't make it at military police, they defaulted to the garrison.
Okay. Anikka, what would you do?
Which corp I would join, actually?
Yeah.
Kind of harsh. I'm not. Sorry for the word. I'm not suicidal. I don't think I'll be. I mean, I really do want to explore the outskirt of the walls. So that's the aspect I like for scouting. But I think I'll be more military police, honestly.
Yeah.
And again, sadly, except for the corruption part, I think they're doing their job, and they have more. There's more action. They have more responsibilities than the other corps outside of scouting, for sure. So I would hesitate between both, but I think I'll go for a military police.
I see. So, of the three of us, then, I'm clearly the suicidal one. At the risk of sounding unrealistic to my viewers, I've thought about it a lot. And honestly, I actually would join the Survey Corps. I share a lot of the similar sentiments as Aaron. So if we were to start off in the same position socioeconomically, I still would try to join the Survey Corps. The reason being is that I see that I'm trapped within the wall. It's the same sentiment as Aaron. We're like caged birds. Eventually, we're all gonna die anyway because we're stuck inside these walls. Food's gonna run out, and if we're not gonna have enough land to expand to, then we're pretty much all boned, right? At least if I were in the Survey Corps, I would have the freedom to go beyond the walls, even despite how terrifying it is, to try to make a difference. I feel like in the Survey Corps, you also get this, it's not even about the heroism and how people, sometimes when they see them off, they celebrate, but then when they come back, everyone's like, oh, they're coming back with more dead people, right? But it's the fact that you have the chance to finally go escape beyond the walls and see the world outside, because then it gives your life more meaning to know that there are things outside the walls, right? And honestly, I would be pretty spiteful towards the Titans as well. I think this just speaks more to my character, that I'm emotionally driven, but I also want to be consistent with my ideologies. So if I want freedom, I'm not above sacrificing my own to achieve that. Is that going to make sense?
Yeah.
Like to go beyond what other people would just to achieve that. Like comfort is nice, but at a certain point, you do notice over the course of the anime and the manga that depression is really rampant within the walls, and there's a reason for that. Whereas in the Survey Corps, sure, they deal with fear and stress, but do you see any of them pretty depressed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
They're dead.
To the point, depressed to the point where they're unable to move. No, they can keep fighting. And I think that's very admirable. And I wouldn't join for the honor or the glory of being like a quote unquote hero, because it wouldn't technically be accurate, because everyone views us as suicidal idiots, right? And a waste of resources. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm going to stick with the fact that it's the freedom's there, and it's my chance to take revenge. And yeah, I guess it's just my inquisitive nature, I suppose.
I have that same thinking, and I was thinking maybe I would have joined Hanji Corp because she's more into scientific development, right?
She was also nuts.
I know, but I would say at least with her, I felt like we're safe. We're scouts, but we don't get to do survey as the others would do. So I get to get outside.
What do you mean? She's still with them. It's just that she.
I felt like she wasn't. Her team wasn't the one who were always being sent frontline.
Oh no, right? I think you just don't see them because they were sidelined by like Levi's squad. Because Levi's squad was always like the vanguard with Erwin, and then I think Hanji's was just in the back. She was still flanking. The new recruits were in the center.
Oh, true. But yeah, I would have tried to stick with Hanji in any case.
Because this kind of seems like she would be able to protect you more, or as a group.
Again, I felt like they weren't like
they're not too much in the front.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
They're more on the side.
But there'll still be like enough to learn more about like research. So you have a little bit of both. Like you have a bit of like going out there, exploring, discovering, but at the same time you're not in the front line where you have to fully risk your life.
Exactly, because her main objective it's more collecting, proof and do some research on it. So, and I get to learn actually first before everyone else about if there's any secret,
You kind of have to if your commander is the first one to stick their head into a Titan mouth just to see what they're like.
Yes, but I believe she would have captured one and secured the whole, process.
So knowing everything that you know now, would that change your decision on which military division you would join?
Again, aside the corruption part, I think personally, if I were to live in that world, I would have not changed because they still have another job, which is right maintain peace. If we can put it that way, within the wall. So that's still a job itself. Managing human is as much as managing giants. So
Right.
yeah, I wouldn't change. And again, I know corruption, and corruption. It's same thing in real life. Part of every layers of life, sadly.
Right.
So that wouldn't change much. I would have been more the type like military police, but sided with justice. I would have give my hands to the scouts and try to help them out. Yeah.
How about you, Shuruko? What would you do?
I do like a little bit of the research into it, but I think for like even joining like Han's like corp. No, it actually sounds really nice. Like, now you mention it, like I would like to do that too. But what are the odds?
But I just want to mention, like right now, you know that you have Titan shifters on your side. You have smart people in command. Why wouldn't you join?
I mean, like
right?
if I knew that, then yeah. But I thought we're at a point where we don't know anything. Like this is just like a very generic, like, hey, this is what we're gonna join. This is
Right.
It's not like when Aaron decided to join a scout. He knew like, hey, man. Oh, actually, no, he did. Did he?
What?
No. This is when he joined the scout. It was way before there were Titan Shifter existed, right? So they're like, yeah, it's not like that. You had that luxury, and then we're thinking about this point where like, oh, you don't know. Then if I don't know there's a Titan Shifter around, I will probably still do military, but I would probably try. I would like to do more into the research. Well, maybe less of a corp, the cyber corp, but more like in terms of the research of the
aspect of their objectives.
Yeah, less military, more research.
Now that you bring it up, I think I would be too. I don't think I would be as talented enough to be in Levi's squad, but I definitely still want to have that action.
Some helpful, some usefulness, right?
Yeah. Of course, the research is also exciting, but I think I'd just be in one of the other squads because I don't think I would want to be tied down enough just to want to investigate like the Titans. I want to just be part of it in like restraining a Titan for research. I don't think I'd actually be interested in analyzing it all that much. I think I'm in an anime. I think I'd be more of like the musclehead character. Just get me out there. Like I want to explore, but I don't necessarily want to think too much about the Titans because at the end of the day, it does kind of save like my character in particular if I don't think too much. Because if you think about it, we're literally murdering people. Titans are people.
We all know that.
Yeah. So at this stage, if we were to join knowing who the Titans were, compared to who we didn't know,
I would feel bad.
Yeah, so like if you're in the research, I think you guys would end up getting are more likely to become super depressed knowing that you're researching and dissecting a human, right? Whereas if I was not in the research, like the burden's not really there, I'll just kill them and go. Don't think about it.
Now, my goal will be to turn them back to human or prevent other human from transforming.
I would say transforming them back to human would be my goal.
But the stage to get there, the amount of experimentation you have to do, that can't be easy.
No choice. Sure. No choice. If no one's going to do it, then there will never be a solution to the cause.
You'll carry the burden for them. I get it. So, now let's go into the plot. In Season 3 specifically, there were many things that happened. They reveal a lot of plot twists, as we mentioned before. One most popularly debated topic. Who would you choose to save, Armin or Erwin? So for those of you who need a reminder, there's a point near the end of Season 3 where they take down Bertholtz, the Colossal Titan, and Erwin and Armin are both like mortally wounded. And they have a chance to turn one of them into a Titan to eat Bertholdt and potentially save themselves. Who would you choose and why? Armin, who has showed his potential throughout the story, or Erwin, the genius commander who got them to that point. They both act as pivotal roles in taking down both the Beast Titan and the Colossal Titan. So then it becomes a bit complicated. Who would you choose?
I think one thing that the creator really put a lot of like good work into it is that he actually made this like, if you think of it in a very logical sense, he made it really difficult to actually choose logically. Like you can't. It's not like there's no like for sure answer. You can't be like, oh yeah, Armin for sure. Like this would make total sense. But in that story, like that standpoint, Armin was still just a kid. Yes, he had great idea. He has sparks of ingenuity.
Yes.
But it's not like consistent. He had never led a team before. He doesn't.
Agreed.
He hasn't that experience as a commander. In the end, he did choose Armin, but it was. But we have to admit, it was like as Fush says in the anime, that it was based off emotional causes.
Yeah, for sure. It was for sure.
It was for sure emotional, but we do get glimpses saying, "Oh wow, yeah, Erwin did consider Armin a lot, like maybe potential as a successor." But
you see glimpses of that. I agree with that. That happens a lot. The way he looks at him was like one of a father and a son.
Yeah, but the thing is that that's how like behind camera, like behind curtains. The thing is that if I were one soldier, I would put my trust, my life, into someone that has experience, somebody who's able to, that I know I can trust, that can lead, rather than somebody who has not. Maybe he has a spark of ingenuity, but he never led a team before.
So I have some points to agree and disagree with you. I understand how we could be hesitant to help Armin. Honestly, at first, I also didn't want to save Armin either. Erwin has a track record. Erwin knows how to lead his people, right? But what we're kind of missing here is that who we're choosing is not someone to lead. We're just choosing whoever is more useful to save, right? And if you think about it, Erwin does have a track record, but it's also a track record of a lot of failure. So although he has a lot of big wins under his belt, look at the amount of bodies that he accumulated. There is a whole episode or even a chapter dedicated to the amount of guilt that he felt, the amount of bodies he quote unquote sacrificed to get to this point, just to prove that there are civilizations beyond the walls, just because his father also, like being inside the wall. It was very clear that they were being censored in a way to suppress the people so that there wouldn't be an uprising or like mass suicides. And Erwin's father was a teacher who knew about the truth of the walls and the royalty inside. And because of that, Erwin spent his whole life in bitterness, in depression, going up and down, trying to sacrifice whoever you could, whenever you could, to get to that goal, to prove to the people the real truth behind the walls and everything, right? Whereas Armin, like you said, he had his moments where he was almost ingenious, right? But he was still a bit young. At the end of the day, I do support their decision to save Armin, because in that moment, they weren't choosing a leader. There were other leaders that they are equally as smart as Erwin that could have taken up the mantle. Hanji, who ended up taking the mantle. Levi, who's just as skilled, right? And there are other people who are as good as leading the corps as Erwin, or even maybe better. I argue that Hanji was better. It's just that Armin has proven himself to
He could be a trump card.
Yes, to step up, because not only would he inherit the Colossal Titan's power to be like a big nuke, he also has the ingenuity to know what to do with it. I'm like 60% supporting the decision to save Armin, but also the fact that I feel for Erwin. He's gone through a lot. He deserves a break. He kind of established his goal already, and it's time to rest.
That's a fair point for that ending one. Yes, he did make it a lot of track record, but in terms of, I'm a strong believer for like having that much failure. Yes, he sacrificed all lives, but I think it's just very important in general experience to have, especially when you have even more lives to protect.
True.
Yes, makes a lot of sense. So he has that burden, but because he has that burden, it makes a lot more sense why he has that extra responsibility. Like, you know what, I can't save everyone, but these are the people I can save, and then I can't risk any more like sacrifices. Armin, like, don't get me wrong, Armin makes a lot of sacrifice himself too. Like there are people who do die under his care, and he knows that. He shoulders the burden, but I feel like for him, he has a lot to catch up in terms of that kind of experience. And yes, Armin has. But when I'm speaking like between chosen, yes, Armin in the end obviously was a better choice, because we see it from a very different perspective. I'm talking about like from a perspective of a soldier, and perspective if I was willing to lay my life on the line for humanity, but who can I see somebody to lead my team? Is somebody that I worked with, somebody I can trust, and somebody who kept me alive all this time.
Well, that's the thing. We're not choosing a leader right now. We know the next person in command is Hanji, right? Whereas we're just choosing who is best to use the Colossal Titan's power. Like, you wouldn't expect the general to go put himself in danger at the head of an attack, right?
Oh yeah, but that's why I'm saying is like, but in that instance, I'm talking about if I see the situation as a soldier, and if
Right.
you and we can only make that decision if we look at it from a very like third person kind of view. Because if you think of maybe like kind of watch and read, they weren't talking about who will use the Colossal Titan better. They're just
Yeah.
talking about who to save.
Yes, there's a lot of emotional aspects.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't find that attractive either. If I was a soldier watching that argument, right? Actually, it wouldn't even be a decision. It would be straight up Erwin. But at the same time, if you're one of the only 9 people left of the Survey Corps and you dedicated the whole life to Erwin, you've seen your fair share of death. I'm not saying that sacrificing lives is a bad thing. I'm just saying Erwin's plans usually sacrifice more than they should have. He utilized the whole Corps to try to like distract the Beast Titan for Levi to cut him down. Whereas if you look at Armin's plan to take down the Colossal Titan, most people were safe. So the thing is that there's also another layer to this. Speaking like outside of a soldier's perspective, you now have 2 potential, aces up your sleeve. You have Eren, who is the attack titan, and Armin, who can potentially be the Colossal Titan, right? You want someone to be able to rein in Eren, because he is a loose cannon. Erwin has not been that able to influence Eren as much as Armin. So it would make more sense to have Armin be... I know, right? Armin, Erwin, and Eren. It would make more sense to give it to Armin, because then he would have not only have the power, but the emotional influence to pull back Eren when he kind of goes nuts. So logically speaking, if everyone had the time to think about who would best have the power, it would definitely be Armin. But in the moment, yes, I wouldn't agree that at the end, it was all emotional arguments that were being made to support Arwen over Erwin. But at the end, you also have to like respect Erwin's wishes too. He was done. He was ready to take a break. You see, he pretty much says it to Levi. He's like, "I used to have dreams too, and I'm happy now," or something like that. So at the end of the day, you also have to respect the commander's wishes. If the commander wants to die, just let him die.
He didn't, but he said that, but he didn't tell anyone that. He didn't tell that to anyone, did he?
Levi. He muttered something to Levi. I forgot what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think from a soldier's perspective, you also want to see your commander like not fatigued and finally at peace.
Yeah, but I'm speaking perspective from a standard soldier. But in the end, obviously, they did make the right choice. In the end, I do 100% agree that it was important that they need someone to rein Eren. Eren's a loose cannon.
Yeah.
He's 100% loose cannon. He still is.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the end, there's only one. Like, if it's not Armin, then Mikasa was the only other person. And I think they need that. They need that person who can logically think. Feel like they're in a Survey Corps, like even like Erwin, Mikasa, Connie, Sasha. They're like their own group of like juvenile still.
Yeah, true.
Like they haven't reached the same. Yeah, they haven't received. Sorry, they haven't received that same maturity as the people who like Levi's Corps.
True, but Levi's Corps is also all dead now.
Yeah,
so they are the new senior Corps. So Anikka, what would you choose, Armin or Erwin?
Honestly, it's 50-50.
Let them both die.
Oh no! One way or another, the creator would have used the character in a way that it would help them out. Honestly, at this point, I saw them as 50-50. They have both their downside and their upside, so it didn't matter to me, honestly.
So after our discussion, you're still on the fence on both?
Yeah, no matter who would have been chosen, it's okay, it's fine with me.
Flip a coin.
For sure, I would be, no matter what, I would still be sad, because I would have loved both of them to be still alive. But in this case, we had no choice. So if it was Erwin, I'm pretty sure he will actually use his power in a strategic way. Yes. At one point, so I don't feel like he's gonna stay behind again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it didn't bother me, either one of them.
Does it change your mind at all, the fact that becoming a Titan, a shifter, gives you an expiration date of 8 years?
Is it 13?
Oh, is it 13?
15.
Oh, I thought it was
13.
Let me look it up real quick. Because
Eren was 12 when
he was shot.
It's a Curse of Ymir. It's 13 years. So that being said, I think that would have, the fact that if they knew there was an expiration date, it would have swung towards the favor of Erwin for sure, because he was already middle aged or something, right? So then another 13 years, whereas Armin's near, like, he's in youth. I don't think he would be happy like dying 13 years later, but you know. Another factor I just thought of now is that Armin wasn't necessarily super flashy or talented with his 3D maneuvering omnidimensional gear. It would make sense to give him a little boost so that he can at least protect himself. I mean, he did almost die near the beginning of the show. Near the end, he didn't actually do much in terms of combat. Why not give him a nuke, right?
I mean, yeah.
So
but he's smart. I think that's what we liked about him. It's like he's like the rational person. He's like the person that's actually on the ground. Like
True.
He listens, he pays attention to everything that's going on, and he's able to give those sound advices to people and at calm logical decision because he's looking at everything in a very different perspective.
Being the victim of bullying over the years, I feel like that gives his perspective a lot more color. Everyone's always looking at the perspective on how to attack. He's looking at how to best survive, right? To look at weaknesses because he's used to looking for weaknesses to either escape or to, He just never had the ability to take action, but he luckily had the people like Eren and Mikasa to act in his stead. So I think that also kind of adds to his potential role as a commander. Did we talk about, in this season 3, do we know about the Marlians? Marlians?
Yes,
Marlians?
we know.
Near the end, right?
Yeah, near the end.
I don't think they didn't give an official name, did they?
I don't know. I don't think so.
What do you mean?
Like they actually mentioned the name Marlian, or did they mention like people outside the wall call us like subject Ymir?
Like they see the photograph, like they know people outside. I'm not sure if they give them a name. They just know that there are people.
They did mention the Marlian. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, so if Anikka knows it, then it's probably it's probably said. Okay, so then there is a constant theme going on through the anime. It's the cyclical rotation of power between nations. There's a cycle between power between the Marlians and the people of Ymir, the Eldians, meaning the people who have the curse of becoming titans. I think they go into a little bit of the history as well. There are like fairy tales that they talk about where the people of Ymir were the strongest nation on the planet because of their ability to shift into titans, but then eventually they lost the war with the Marleyans and then were forced to retreat back into their walls, protect themselves. I'm pretty sure these aren't spoilers. There's also pain and justice that's cyclical as well. For example, the pain of the father of Eren, who inherited it from Eren Kruger and wanted to carry on his quest to free their people and to gain justice for the Eldians again, now finally finds itself on top of Eren's shoulders, who now has to carry that burden. They also carry the themes of ingrained racism in society, not only within the Paradise Island, but also in Marley. So I just thought that it was nice how there are like parallels between that world and our world, because it's clearly still there. Aside from the very obvious allusions of the armbands of the Eldians inside the concentration camps in Marley, it goes to some pretty deep themes that is also evident and present in our own lives as well.
I would say it's the same theme as always. So typical human who's afraid of the other one because the other one has something different. In this case, is their descendant. They had the power of Titans,
right?
Which they don't. In life, if we take the more the best visual for that would be all the world war until now. So the Jewish people, they had the knowledge, wealth, and they're a tight-knit community.
Yep.
So those were a threat to other humans for X reason. So I guess no matter how the story dwells into the, let's say, fantastic, abstract, metaphorical side, it's still a human tale in the end. It's about human versus human, and humanity versus humanity, human emotion and human goals.
And I love the gray area that it comes with as well. For example, the person in power, the person who wins, is always going to be portrayed as the heroes, right?
Yes.
As you can see from the Marley Society, they won, so they suppressed the Eldians.
Yes.
Or in the Eldian Society, even within the walls, they have their own hierarchy as well.
Yes. And no matter who won, as long as there's always one party who won over the other, that's always going to be a loss overall. And I guess what they're trying to teach as a tale, it's coexistence. That's the true win.
As long as there's power inequality, there's always going to be one party that's going to be demonized over the other. And there's always going to be this ingrained racism in their society. And
but that's the hardest part of life. Try to coexist with the other one without having to, wanting to subject them to be a lesser good, let's say.
So that being said, with this being one of the themes of the anime, who do you think is more in the right to start a war? Okay, there's never a right to start a war, but who do you think is more of the, let's say, victim, or who do you think is more in the right? The Marleyans or the Eldians, which are the Titan shifters? Because if you keep going back in history, the source of power shifts between both. You can argue the Eldians may have started it, but then the Marleyans, actually there's a history of suppressing the Eldians even before they achieved the Curse of Ymir. And then when Eldians end up rising up, so much so that they end up conquering a major part of the world, and then the Marleyans fought back, and now everyone is just kind of like hiding behind their walls. We're waiting for the next one, right? So that being said, who do you think would be more in the right to start a war? If you were to pick a side, whose side would you be more on? Eldian or Marleyans?
Eldian at this point, because they were living in peace, and the other one came over, and that started a war.
Right.
I think in this case, the Eldian have the right to rise a war, but only to protect themselves and gain back.
Establish peace, right?
Yeah, establish peace and have their liberties as they
yes.
have.
But as with any war and conflict, there's always a risk of it to be getting exacerbated and turning into a lot worse. And you just, where do you draw the line? Shuruko, who are you leaning towards to support in a conflict between Eldians and Marleyans?
I feel so we're talking about not the Eldian like histories in general, just like just everyone in paradise.
Yes.
I think in that case, it's hard to say, because I think the Eldians on paradise, they're in a war that they don't know they're actually fighting.
Right.
If you think about it this way, like, again, the whole story plots out became more like, hey, we're just trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to survive. We're just killing monsters that are eating like humanity. We're trying to save humanity. That was literally like the goal. It's called like, we're trying to save humanity. They didn't say, oh, we're trying to save Eldian. We're not trying to save, because they didn't know about the other people. They didn't know they had another enemy. Right. I think in terms of starting the war, I feel like it just kind of happened because of the end goal. Like, hey, it turns out there's somebody throwing Titans onto the island. Yeah. Right, and then that does conflict them. So I mean, like, in terms of Eldian, there was no. The only grudge they really held against the Marlins is, why are you throwing monster on my island? Right, and it's their own people, right? As they soon find out. Yeah, exactly. So, and then with the Marlians, I feel like for them it was more of a struggle of power. If you think about it in terms of strength-wise, I think it's pretty safe to say that Eldian had the upper hand, because you have the ability to turn to Titans. And it will threaten the Marlians' existence. Right, as a society. Hey, if these guys get out of hand, get too much power, they're going to wipe us out. Easy. Right. So, in their sense, I understand, okay, well, they're trying to uphold these power to protect their own people. And then, yes, it does take into a really bad turn where they are representing real-world people that we cannot really associate with. But if you just kind of break it down, I would think the Eldians they're just trying to live. They're trying to survive. They just want to find peace. So basically, if you were to start something and you just did enough to establish your own peace, then you'll be fine, right? Yeah, pretty much. But then now brings up the issue. It's just kind of like in real life, you know, the country with the most nukes are the ones with the most power, and you have to respect and don't piss them off, or something's going to happen. There's always going to be a fear of that. If the Eldians manage to retake their island and establish peace, there are always going to be people who are scared that they might do more. You know what I like about this story is that there are so many gray areas. You can't go back far enough to find the initial aggressor, because at some point the society with the most power ends up doing too much to maintain that power. The Eldians at one point were alleged dictators and rulers over the land, but then from their perspective they thought they were bringing prosperity, whereas the Marleyans now, they think they fought back the Titans, but now are still terrified, so much so that they're willing to make their Eldian citizens into basically second-class citizens. I kind of agree with what you guys said to an extent. Throughout the anime, I feel like I've always sided with the Eldians, but I feel like that might just be because I'm biased towards the main characters. But if we're using the moral compass, I feel like the Marleyans have gone way far and beyond in terms of how they've treated other fellow humans compared to what Eldians have done. I think I would be more leaning towards the Eldians to start something just enough to regain their freedom. And if everyone agreed to leave them alone, I think it would be okay. But if they were going to go too far, I also would think that there would be nothing wrong with that. I'm actually 60% in supporting potentially the Eldians just wiping out the entire world. Just because as long as there's going to be that inequality, there's always going to be an issue of power, right?
So
It's always gonna be like that one person. Like they have to right now. I say in the current tournament, the Eldian are the one that has the least power. They don't have the ability to stop the war, but the Marlins they can pull stop to it any time they want. If they just stop like sending Titan, they stop like hey guys, we're just gonna stop.
yeah, we're just gonna leave you alone.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave you alone. But they decide not to. So
It's hard to blame them because they're also terrified of them.
yes.
You?
Yeah, exactly. So at the same time, that's why throughout the story they mentioned a lot about the cycle of hatred that goes on. Like, yeah, we'll be suppressed. But that cycle, there is, as you said, there's a shift in power on and off, on and off. Right now, the shift of power belongs to the Marlians. They're the one who has the control of all the powers.
Right.
So in this sense, they will have the better chance to keep balance. Or else, otherwise, let's say the Eldians, let's say Eren, they start fighting over there, that power will shift back to the Eldians.
Right.
Right?
So it kind of seems like we're all on the same page. We're kind of leaning towards supporting the Eldians to a certain extent, just because I think we also all just want peace. Like we've already seen the tragic effects of what war has done to their people, the demonizing of certain groups of people, the isolation and the fear that it develops, the hatred, the betrayal, as we'll soon find out. Yeah. So I guess with that, we'll just end on the one last note. Do you like the direction that this anime took? The reason I bring this up is because there were certain phases. Like in season 1, they do a lot into instilling fear and instilling wonder into this new world. But then it also is quickly followed up by a whole arc where it's just politics, right? So then at first you think that it's going to be like a fantastical adventure, but then they start introducing all these other themes: war, trauma, economics, politics. Did you see that coming? And did you like it?
I think we've mentioned this a lot throughout this whole podcast. Is
right?
They threw in a lot of stuff, a lot of twist into the storyline.
Did you ever feel like that was overwhelming, or was it just enough?
I feel like at some point, yes, it was very overwhelming. Even for the politics, like the politics was, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty boring. But they were throwing a lot of information around. A lot of information. It was kind of hard to keep up. So I did have to read that over and over again to understand more about the Eldian, the Marlian, people Ymir. What they turned, what we originally thought was a post-apocalyptic world, into a society that really closely relate to our real world. Right?
Yeah,
like the World War II situation. I think for a lot of people, that kind of clicks into, for me, it really clicks into, oh, wow, this is literally just like the Holocaust, like having the Eldians and then the German. But in terms of, they turn it, obviously, they morph in a way where they try to steer clear from that.
Yeah. But you know what? It also relates to the World War I as well, with the Berlin Wall and this literal wall that's built up.
Oh, I didn't even think about the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, because it's two parallels, and they made it so that it happens at the same time, and I thought it was beautiful. And yeah, it really inspires me in particular, because I think you guys know, I'm also writing a novel on the side, and I love delving into like the politics and everything, and it just kind of inspires me to see what I can do for my own story. What did you think, Anikka? Or sorry, Shuruko, did you have anything else to add? Or
No, that's it.
Have any issue with specific theme all at once per season? I didn't read the manga, so I wouldn't be able to compare.
It's actually quite accurate to the anime itself.
It's pretty faithful.
Yeah.
And I think they brought it at the right time. I didn't feel like it was too overwhelming, because at one point, yes, we know about the cards, but we had to know about the policy situation as well.
Right.
As to have more understanding about choice of specific groups. I would say it was okay. It wasn't too overwhelming, or I didn't got lost in any case. And on top of it, it was providing us answer, right, that we had since season 1. So I was fine with that part. Yeah.
I think it was great. I think it was a good balance of both. I actually really love the political aspect, just because I love the mind games that were going on and the actions that people took in order to establish their goal. That's always been an interest of mine. But in terms of season 2, I felt like at times there was too much. At times it was too dry. Like, I get it. If it was 4 seasons of them killing Titans, you'd get bored too, right?
Definitely, yeah.
But I feel like they could have added a little bit more Titans in season 2 in between political episodes.
I understand. It was a bit less of an action. It was more about, talking, explanation. If
right.
That what you meant.
Yeah. Oh, that actually brings up something that they do when they actually get to Aaron's basement. The way they use the music or absence thereof to build up suspension, but still give them time to wind down and kind of relish the moment that they open up the basement of which they were seeking after all these years. There was so much anxiety. For example, when Aaron was trying to stick the key into like the lock in the door and it wouldn't work, and we're all like, the hell? And then they're all panicking. We're panicking. We're like, come on, this is the right basement. And then freaking Levi comes in and just kicks the door open. And we're like, oh, okay, we're good. And then they go inside and it's empty. There's nothing there. And then they find a drawer. They stick the key into the drawer and the drawer is empty. And everyone's like, and then Levi just kind of cuts through attention again. He's like, oh no, there's a false bottom here. Look, obviously it's hidden. And then,
oh yeah,
it's small things like that I feel like really it gives the anime some texture, some flavor, like layers.
I agree.
Also, just one last thing. What did you guys think about the Smiling Titan?
Oh my god, the one that walked
the one
on
that
four
ate
legs?
Aaron's mom. Because there's a huge thing that was alluded to, or I don't know if they went directly to explain.
I mean, that was in season 3. Yes, in the end,
But they didn't. Do you know? We know.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't really connected the dots yet, that Smiling Titan is Aaron's dad's first wife.
Yes.
Dina. And that was nuts. And that just brings in the whole theme of cycles again, because he gets in touch with his ex-stepmom. I don't know. Grisha's first wife. And then it just brings it all together. And the fact that Grisha's first wife eats Grisha's second wife. Oh, that's dark.
I think she apparently the Titan were drawn toward Doctor's house. I believe that's how they explain. Otherwise, it would have been super random.
Is that what they said?
That'd be interesting.
I thought it was just a twist of fate, because if you think about it, Dina and Grisha's original intent was to overthrow the Marleyans and they wanted their children to carry on and take over, right? So it would make sense in like a weird destiny kind of way that Dina, the Smiling Titan, would then thrust Aaron into this path of vengeance to take over the coordinate and overthrow the Marleyans, don't you think? By killing his actual mom.
The thing is, how would Dina know where Aaron lived? And nor would she know
that's what I'm saying. I think it's a coincidence.
No, I think they say somehow she smelled it, whatever.
What did she smell? Because she's not technically related to Aaron.
No, but she smelled like her husband.
Exactly.
Oh.
She knew it was kind of like his place or his house, whatever, that he was staying there. That's why she was drawn to that specific house. Otherwise, she would have gone elsewhere.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get by that.
I think that's what I heard. But in any case, that's how Aaron got the connection, and he felt.
And haunted. Yeah.
So.
He came actually up to. He didn't know right away. He figured it out later, and when he was in jail, I think he realized that his theory was that he had the ability to control those Titans back then because he just touched someone of royalty.
Yeah, he awakened part of the founding Titans.
Yeah. All right. So with that, I guess we'll end it there. This is a nice discussion on Attack on Titans. I don't know about you, but I'm super excited to watch the final season coming up in December. I guess we can do a follow-up podcast if you guys are interested in coming back again.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. I guess we'll stay in touch if you guys also want to play Attack on Titans on the computer.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
I kind of want to get into that again.
Wait,
and just
how much is the game?
It's free.
It's free?
Yeah, it's free. It's a browser game.
Yeah, you just have to download the Unity engine. Just make sure you don't download anything else, because I think I downloaded some adware last time.
Oh my god, because they do sell the game on all of the platform, I believe. The first one and the second one.
No, that's an awful game. Don't even touch that.
Okay.
It's nowhere near. It's not faithful to like the story at all. It's just quick time events, which it's good. It's aesthetically pleasing, but it is nothing in terms of skill.
I found it.
Oh, what was it? What's it called?
It's called Fangly. Yeah.
What? Oh, right.
Okay, this looks sketchy, homemade.
Oh no, it's really good once you start it.
Really?
Yeah. And once you learn how to play and you become good at it, it's so addicting.
It's a skill. It's pretty skill based. Like you actually have to practice.
So we're gonna end this here. Thanks for watching, and we hope that you enjoyed our conversation as much as we did. You can follow Shuruko over at his stream at twitch.tv/ShurukoGG and Anikka on Instagram at JulieFem. Let me know down in the comments what you're most hyped about in Season 4. And don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe like your life depended on it so you don't miss a single upload. See you back here on Thursday. Peace!
Have a good day.
Bye.